Hey everyone, hope everyone's having a great Friday. Rocking the blue. I know people have sent me messages noticing that I only wear blue, and I don't, but I've mentioned before I'm trying to bring out these baby blues to get more people to watch my video. So we are at Classic Auto. We're at Classic Auto Restoration Specialists. And so I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna do a countdown, and we are gonna go live. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna meet Mike Case at his 33,000 square foot warehouse of history, gorgeousness, of beautiful cars, and memorabilia. It's gonna be a lot of fun. So here we go. 3, 2, 1. Nicksaway here live in North Fort Myers, Florida, which is the southwest part of Florida, right outside of, I guess it's south of Tampa, a couple hours south of Tampa. And we are at C.A.R.S, Classic Auto Restoration Specialists. Let's see, I'm going to show you the sign here, but it's a 33,000 square foot warehouse. And it's a man who we're going to meet here in 2 seconds. He's actually walking up. And he started a fantastic business when he wasn't really getting the service that he wanted. And he's created, I want to say an empire, but honestly it's a great story. So here we go. This I'm looking at right now, this is C.A.R.S, Classic Auto Restoration Specialists. Alright, and we're going to walk in, we're going to meet Mr. Case here in a second. But 33,000 square foot warehouse right here at C.A.R.S in North Fort Myers, Florida. Walking in right now. And so this is off of Cleveland Boulevard, which is one of the main roads to get to the 75. But here we go, we're going to walk in. And Mike's going to explain some of the collector items that he's collected throughout the years, but he's big into memorabilia of old gas stations. So if you just heard, I rang the bell waiting for the services. But you'll see all these old gas pumps that he's collecting, and you can almost say he's running his own Pawn Star business, but he's going to explain all that, and I'll let him, he'll do a better job than me. How you doing? But this place, I'm so lucky and so fortunate to get them on today. It's been actually working throughout the week to get them to do this, but they are slammed in the winter because of all the snowbirds. So we're lucky to have Mr. Case, Mike Case, his time, and here he is, the gentleman right here, to have us be fortunate enough to walk through his shop. How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Nick?
Good.
Good to see you today.
Thank you so much, Mike. And I wanted to, and I just explained to my viewers the shop that you have here, 33,000 square foot. But thank you so much for letting us do this and walking into your collection. We are very honored, at least I am, because being a car guy myself, it makes this part of what I do a lot of fun. So Mike, please tell us a little bit about you and how you started C.A.R.S.
Well, it's an interesting story. The last thing I ever thought I'd be doing was actually owning a classic car restoration company. Back in the early 90s, I had decided to restore a car that I had since I was 17 years old, a 1968 Camaro C28. Mm-hmm. I took it to 2 different shops, had horrible experience. Both the times I had to end up pulling the car out of the shop. And so I thought, well, you know, I did some work on cars when I was young. I was around, I worked in a mechanic shop and a Texaco station my father owned. I thought I'll just bring it home and I'll do it myself. So I guess fortunately, I only had weekends to work on it at my house, and I'd set my house up as a shop. I flew Monday through Friday. I was an executive with one of the largest executive search firm. And so the only time I had to work was Saturday and Sunday. So I hired a couple of people to work at the house on the weekends, and eventually my wife decided that wasn't the best utilization of our property. So then I started with a small shop, just restoring one car. Then it kind of grew from there. I had the opportunity to lease a small space in an airplane hangar, and then I started buying cars. I thought, well, this is going so well, I think I'll start buying cars and do more of them. And again, meantime, I'm working a full-time job flying 300,000 miles a year.
Wow.
But what happened is it just started growing. Finally, my wife said to me, says, you know, this is an expensive hobby. I mean, how many cars do we have? And I tell the story in some of our open houses where she had never seen the airplane hangar with 21 project cars that I had there and tens of thousands of dollars worth of parts. She said, you know, you run a major division of a corporation. You know, you can't figure out how to make this pay for itself. And that's kind of where it started. Friends had been asking me for years to restore their car. They had seen the 1968 Camaro Z28 that I'd done. And so we started taking in a few cars. And the next thing you know, it just kept growing, it kept growing, it kept growing, till it became one of our full-time jobs. And then we had an opportunity to buy this facility back in 2006. We did $1 million remodel on it, and the thing just started taking off from there.
Well, like I've told them, it's a great story. You guys have done a lot, and we'll talk about some of the things that you do for the community. But it's fantastic, and I bragged for you a little bit, saying that you're building an empire. But let's take a look at some of the cars and walk through your warehouse. But fantastic story, and everyone, we were lucky enough, because he is just slammed in the winter months, but we're fortunate enough to walk through here and see some of the cars that he's currently working on.
Yeah, this is, Nick, this is our assembly and disassembly area. And one of the goals we had and one of our missions is to be able to provide a workplace that anybody could come and visit. I guess unfortunately most of the people in this trade are in back alleys and industrial warehouses, and the facilities normally aren't very conducive to the general public. But we wanted a place where anybody could come in at virtually any time. We host groups. We've hosted, I think, 33 car clubs here. We've done open houses, we've done special events, but on a day-to-day basis, you know, we'll have elderly people, we'll have disabled people, we'll have children that come in here, and we want them to feel free to be able to be escorted through the shop, be able to see the cars, see how this process works, and still feel safe. And so that was one of our major goals, that when they came in, it didn't look like your normal restoration shop. As you'll see, most of the parts, except for the cars that are being worked on, are all in storage. They're in the back hallway behind the doors at the end of the shop, so that when people come in now, this is basically what they see. And then, you know, we'll get into maybe later talking about some of the decoration, but that was the other thing that we felt, that we wanted people to come in and remember times in the past where they were kids growing up, and, you know, they relate to all the memorabilia, the gas station, the old car dealership, things that brought back good memories in the town they came from. And what's interesting, you'll see a very eclectic set of cars here. From Model A's and Model T's to, we've had brand new Camaro Z06 in here, Mercedes, Lamborghinis, Ferraris, muscle cars, street rods. So it's a very eclectic customer base that we have. And not only that, the customers are from all over the world. We've shipped cars to Puerto Rico, we've shipped cars to Germany, to Sweden, to South America, to Canada. So a lot of these people have only found out about us through word of mouth. Social media now is starting to grow, and we're getting contacts from all over the world. But we have local cars that are in here. Like I said, virtually every state in the country, we've had a customer at one time that has brought a car in to us. So that was kind of our goal, was it was not only to be a restoration business that does classics, exotics, antiques, sports cars, basically anything, customs. We've got one of the cars, it's not here today, it's out getting some supercharger put on it, but it could be one of the featured cars at SEMA this year. total customized 1947 Lincoln Continental convertible that is like a brand new car that rolled off the assembly line.
And that'll be your first time at SEMA? And
will be our first time at SEMA. We've made several attempts to get there, and something has always come up, but this year we're committed to doing it, and we're hoping that the sponsorship by Sherwin-Williams actually gets us as one of the feature cars at SEMA.
Well, that's fantastic, and Sherwin-Williams, it's a huge sponsorship. Mike, how many cars you get here at once restoring or having them in your shop?
Well, on an average, I'll give you an example, Nick. Last month, they just gave me the report for the end of July. We worked on 32 different vehicles that month. So on an average, we usually have 30 to 40 cars that are here. So it's obviously they flex and come and go, because some of them are complete body off restorations, which we'll see later. Some of them are services, some are paint jobs, some are motor swaps, some are brake swaps, some are just general maintenance. So some of them come in for a day or two and gone, but some of them are here for an entire body off restoration and may be here for 12 to 18, 24 months or more.
Wow, you guys are busy.
Yeah, very busy. And that's the other piece of this, Nick. You know, we've been very blessed and very fortunate with the staff we have. I watch all of the shows on television, and I tell people we're kind of a cross between overhauling, counting cars, pickers, pawn stars. We do a little bit of all of that, but really the heartbeat of our business is our people. And most of them are not from Florida. I think I counted this morning before you came in, there's 11 different states represented of people that work here. So they've come here, this is what they love to do, and you know, they all know they could probably go someplace else and get a job tomorrow, and probably even making more money than they make here. Right. But they love this, they have a passion, and that's one of the things that we look for in every person that works here. They have to have a passion to do this. So because of that, we feel like we have the best staff in the country. I would put our staff up against any shop of our kind in the world. But we also have a lot of fun together. We do open houses, and we do cookouts and everything, and they're all like family. And that was the goal of this. We wanted this not to be a job for them. Obviously, we all have to work, but we wanted them to enjoy coming to work every day, and that's part of why we did this. They take pride in the shop. You know, they clean their areas. As you can see, this is about as dirty as our shop ever gets. And we're in off-season time, so we'll be redoing floors and some other things between now and the next couple of months and preparing for season. Because during season, we have 25 to 75 people a day that come through, and then once a month, we do a charity open house here, where we have sometimes 200 to 300 people that show up for that.
Well, that's fantastic. We'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit. Do you want to show us around?
Sure.
Great.
Yeah, so this, Nick, is basically our assembly and disassembly. Now today we have all the cars uncovered, but normally the only cars that you see uncovered that day are the cars that are actually being worked on. So that we try to keep them as clean as possible. We treat the customer's vehicles just like we would want our car treated. So today we uncovered them so that you can see the different types of vehicles that we work on. So car comes in, and in our courtyard out there, you saw where those are the cars that are scheduled to come in. These are cars that we are bringing in now. They're either assembled or disassembled and are in the process of being worked on in this area. Now on the other side, and we'll look at that in a second, is our sheet metal auto body and paint. But as you see, you got the ones you got the hoods off of, obviously those are all being worked on, and a very unusual group. Like, you know, the one to your left, this is a 1948 F2 going back all original. The car on your right is the 1940 Dodge going back all original, and we just passed a customized 1990 Mustang Fox body and a 1970 Monte Carlo behind that. It has an LS3 motor. There's a factory GM race car up there. So you'll see anything in here from a total custom build to ones that are built exactly stock. Now this happens to be Mustang month, I don't know why.
It seems like it. You guys have a few of them out here.
Well, and it's interesting, Nick, how that has transpired over the years. we have some Camaros in here, but 2 months ago we had 6 Camaros in here at one time. 2 months before that we had 7 Thunderbirds of various years in here at one time. We've had 4 or 5 Crown Vics in here at one time. We had several Studebakers in here at one time. We had multiple Model A's and Model T's. So it's interesting how it turns over. We have 1 GTO in here now, but we delivered 2 other GTOs just in the last 60 days, wow. 65 through 67s.
Wow. Are any of these cars eventually put on the market for sale?
Very few,
yeah.
And that's interesting. I mean, we have been truly blessed with an unbelievable customer base. And that was one of the things that we also wanted to replicate. I know how much my 68 Camaro Z28 meant to me when I was a kid growing up. These cars, many of them have family stories. Some of these vehicles have been in their family, like the Model T we just delivered. His grandfather owned the Model T, wow. And it went to his father and now to him. The Mustang up there, the gentleman actually built that car for his daughter, and the Mustang, and the license plate on the Mustang is Max 5. Her son was 5 years old when we finished the car.
Wow.
So the cars have meaning to the families, and in some cases it's one of the most important things in their family because it brings back decades of lineage and history in that family. So this is a prized possession. You know, many times outside of their house and maybe some very special mementos that have been passed down the family, the vehicle sometimes represents 2 decades, 3 decades, 4, 5, 6 decades of family that vehicle has transpired in. One of the first cars I did, the lady came to me and said, I want you to do that car because I'm going to give this car to my daughter. So, you know, it will be in my estate and be handed down to my daughter. So I want to make sure this car lasts forever. I want her to be able to drive it in 20 years from now, just like I'm going to drive it away from your shop day one. So those things have tremendous meaning to us and our staff. So like I said, we try to treat these vehicles just like they were our very own.
Well, and I noticed that in your website and some of your videos, how important it is for you, for cars, and the relationship between you and the customer. You guys are very close during the time when the car is pulled in here and when the car leaves.
Well, when you were here the other day, you had a chance to meet Frank Fambro that was here.
Yeah.
And I think I couldn't have said it more articulate than Frank. And Frank's just a wonderful customer. Matter of fact, we have another one of his vehicles here now. But we did his Ford pickup truck called the Santa Express. And he utilizes that as a charity, in a charity event at Christmas each year. And I know how much that vehicle meant to he and his wife. And we are just so thankful that we have customers like that. And they come in here. Frank literally comes in here once or twice a month. Everybody knows everybody in the shop. He goes and talks to the sheet metal guy, the body and paint guy, the interior department, the mechanics. And we treat him just as if he was a relative of the family.
It looked like he just liked hanging out here.
Oh, yeah, he's down to business.
Yeah.
I mean, he comes here for a reason. But when he's here, he feels like a personal friend.
Yeah.
Just like you saw a couple of the YouTube videos that we had that were people that they still come in all the time. Matter of fact, many of the shows, I think I mentioned the other day to you, our customers bring their vehicles. I mean, we've had as many as 21 of our vehicles at a local show that were brought by our customers that wanted to help support our business. And I can't thank them enough for that. All we can try to do is show the gratitude that we have for them by doing good quality work at a reasonable price for them and helping them realize their dream.
It's great. I know you guys are doing fantastic things. You want to show us the process of what it takes to restore a car?
Sure. I'll start with that almost every car that you see out here started in the same way the cars that we're about to show you, and I think that's one thing in the process that people miss. We'll look at this as a 911 Porsche, and not too dissimilar to how some of those started out there. And you'll see it's definitely not really that attractive with its makeup off of it. But by the time you get that done, that'll be a vehicle that we'll be proud to take to any show. And it's only because of the craftsmen that we have here that are able to take something, and this is actually in better shape than what it was a few weeks ago, believe it or not. So they're able to take something like this that most people would say is impossible to do. Matter of fact, the majority of the shops that do what we do would look at this and say, I can't do that job. So it would go from something like this, or there's another one over here, Nick, that we're starting on. It's a 1957 Thunderbird. And this happens to be Frank's, actually. And it's had a great deal of work on it. You would have seen it a few days ago, and a few weeks ago, you would have seen, you know, it's got all new floor pans in it, it's got new quarters in it, there's patches that have been put on it. It's still a long ways, obviously, from being finished, but this is what we call the rough sheet metal area to it. So they come in here and you'll see all the metalworking equipment, welding equipment that's in here, and they come in like this, and then they slowly move into different phases, and we'll kind of walk through that, and then we'll uncover one of them that's getting ready to go to assembly, which is a 1926 package. So what happens next? These are rough sheet metal, and then we go to finished sheet metal, which is we don't have one exactly there yet, but the portion is probably going to be the next closest. Then it goes into what we call rough body work, which would be this first generation Mustang here. So now it's went through body work, primer, and so forth. And then as it moves from rough body, it starts going into finished body, like that Mustang Fastback that's back there. And then after it goes to finished body, then it goes, we actually have a vehicle in the paint booth right now. It goes into the paint booth and then gets painted, and then it comes out here and goes to the other side. We'll uncover this Packard that's getting ready to go over to the other side. Now this was actually pulled out of a barn in Peculiar, Florida, that had been there for, I think he said 50 or 60 years.
50 to 60 years in a barn?
In a barn.
And this is what again?
1926 Packard.
Buick Packard right here. Yeah.
So it was not too dissimilar to a couple of these other cars that you've seen. So there was sheet metal work done on it. There was a lot of woodworking. We've got a little woodworking shop in front. Richard, one of the gentlemen you saw there, is a woodworking craftsman. He crafted all of the wood repair on this and the interior wood in the car so that it is as authentic as possible. We did the research to try to match closely what the original colors were. Obviously, kids today didn't come up with big wheel cars first. You can see that.
Right.
So what we're trying to do is put this car back as close to original. You see the engine has been restored. Those are all original parts that came off of this car that we've either restored or rebuilt and are putting back on the car. So, and the gentleman that owns this is in his 80s. We're actually getting it ready for him because he's getting married, and he'll be in this car on his
driving the Packard away
on the
with
wedding
him and
day,
his bride
on his wedding day.
Wow, it's
Now,
gorgeous.
now you can see these are some of our new employees.
There we go. You put them to work young.
We start them young. We figure we start them at about 6 or 7 years old, and by the time they're 21, they'll be out of their apprentice program.
Perfect.
But yeah, as you can see, we have kids that come in that tour the shop. We've had school groups that have come in here. One of the most interesting ones, we had the Romeos that were actually here. All of them are 80 plus years old. They're called retired old men eating out often. Now the deal was we had to feed them that day too. So, but we have an interesting group of people that come in, but like I said, we try to make the environment safe enough where everybody feels comfortable when they come in here, that they can go around, see, feel, and touch what's going on and really experience what restoration work is all about.
Great. I'm gonna get the Packard real quick because you don't see these cars too often. Especially if it's been in a barn for 50 years.
the other part of the process that I didn't mention, and you know, it's not the most attractive part of our shop, so we won't necessarily go see it, but behind this wall is a corridor where all the motors, transmission, large sheet metal parts. We have a sandblast booth that is out there, both small ones as well as large ones, so that what you don't see is the majority of what we call the extras, the junk that are laying around until we're ready to use them. When they get ready to finish a sheet metal part, they go bring it out, as you can see here, a hood, and start finishing it. Up until then, it stays in storage. We call it bag, tagged, and labeled. So it has a job number on it, the customers, what it is, and it gets put up. Same thing on the assembly side. On the other side, we have a wall back there, and all those signs above those are where a lot of the interior parts are, chrome parts, smaller parts, or they're on mobile racks that get put away. And then as we're working on the car, we pull the racks back out. So when you come in every day, you don't see parts laying around on the floor. I mean, it still happens because obviously you're assembling and disassembling. But for the most part, the only parts out that day are the parts that are going on a vehicle that we're working on that day. And until that time, they're put in storage.
Now we see all these cars, but it's not the only thing that you collect.
No. When we go up front in the museum area, everything you see in here is part of our, I guess, our pickers on steroid. About 70–80% of what you'll see in here and up front was attained in about a 2-year period of time. Now, we still have been buying now for another 6–7 years, but we bought 6 truckloads. We were in 42 states and over 50,000 miles collecting memorabilia. And as you can see, you know, we got a lot of it up, but there is close to this much that is still in storage. Our goal is, we do this mostly in off-season. By the time you're done, when you walk in here, you will see virtually none of the white wall and none of the white ceiling. You can see we've started hanging signs on all the ceiling, so that over the years, every time somebody comes in here, it's got a different look to it. We rearranged the shop. Like I said, we're getting ready to redo the floors to it. But this was a fun part of the business, getting ready to decorate it. And when we came in, this was all bare. Matter of fact, it looked horrible.
Yeah.
We did almost $1 million renovation on the building.
Wow.
Now in here, you'll see a lot of cars that are getting ready to be delivered. There's a 67 GTO that's in the last stages. We just installed the motor. That one's almost done. That's a 57 Pontiac convertible, 53 GMC. I believe this is 59 Buick Electra 225. These cars are all in the late stages. In the front, when we came in, there's a 68 and 69 Camaro almost done. That Fox body Mustang with a 500 horsepower motor. We're just doing some fine tuning, and that one will be ready to be delivered. It actually was. We're just doing some little maintenance work on it. So we have a major turnover. I think we've delivered just in the last couple of months a Model T, a 68 Firebird convertible, 67 Camaro. Let me see, I think there's a couple other wrote down. A 9087 IROC. So all of those cars have been delivered and those were complete body off restorations. Not to count the dozens of cars that came in for maintenance that were here for a day or two and then left. There were several Corvettes that were in here for various maintenance.
Daniel, this shop is located in North Fort Myers. It's been open, and you guys moved in here in 2006?
Yeah, actually 2007. We renovated the building in 2005 and 2006, and then we moved in 2007 from the previous shop. We had about 7,000 square feet. Total building's 33,000 square feet, and just the portion I showed you so far is 16,000 square feet.
Great. Well, and we can talk about some of the things that you collect inside, and the memorabilia is somewhat of a museum you have, and how you bring a lot of the community of Fort Myers, but not only that, all of really Florida and Southern Florida to a barbecue. But before we go in, is there anything else that you want to show?
Oh, absolutely. If you'll come up here, we're actually working on this now because we're going to deliver it to a customer tonight. We also, during season, have exotic car timeshare. As an example, from November through April normally, we had a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, a Rolls-Royce, a Maserati, and a new Corvette. We maintain them, we repair them, and those cars are shipped back up north in the Chicago area, which is our partner company up there. But these cars are timeshared, so people can own them anytime from 3 days to 16 weeks out of the year, and they can swap them out. So like, for example, we're delivering the Lamborghini to the gentleman tonight. We were replacing a hose. We actually put a new clutch in this one last week. Some of the people are a little excited when they drive it. But we're trading this tonight. The gentleman is giving us the Rolls-Royce back, and we're giving him the Lamborghini. So the customers have the access to any of those vehicles for, again, like I said, for a few days up until 16 weeks out of the year. And they only pay for the time that they use it. We cover insurance. Obviously, they have to have insurance as well. But we cover insurance, full tank of gas, all the maintenance on it, and swap it out. In many cases, we actually will deliver the car and pick up the other one. This last season, we had a gentleman flew in from South America to South Beach. We dropped a Maserati down with the concierge. He gets off the plane, goes to the hotel, goes in, picks up his Maserati, and then when he leaves, he calls us. We went back and picked the car up, and we flew back to South America.
Wow, so you have a timeshare program here, one-stop shop, it sounds like.
Correct. And what's interesting, just a couple of days ago, the Lamborghini was sitting right next to a Model T. We just delivered to one of our very best customers his Model T. That one had been in the family for some time. And it was sitting right next to the Lamborghini.
So you had Model T.
The Model T and the Lamborghini
next to them
in the same shop.
Wow.
And then, like, for example, here you've got a factory GM race car. This is owned by one of our really good customers also. He has a very large classic, custom, sport, exotic, and muscle car collection. And we store the car here. He's actually in the islands. But we helped him with this car, and then we maintain the car. We take it to shows. It's one of only 69 that were built in 2015. It's called a Copo Camaro.
A Copo Camaro.
It's about an 8.5, 9-second quarter-mile car.
Wow.
And these were built as a tribute to the 1969 Copo. That stands for Central Office Production Order.
Okay.
So in 1969, you could order basically the fastest Camaro that was ever built, up until obviously recently, directly from General Motors, and they built you a factory race car basically.
Wow.
Those were street legal. These are strictly drag.
This is right. I could tell. Here you go. That'll tell you right there. That gives you a hint that probably doesn't. You don't see that on the road.
Well, that and the parachute in the back.
I didn't know if they could see that.
Yeah. Let me see. I think we got it covered up. But yeah.
Yeah. Right there. Well, and like you just mentioned, you have people from South America, from the islands, Canada. You had a story on YouTube from
Anguilla.
Anguilla. I mean, people from all over the place.
Matter of fact, just a few minutes before you came in, we had two gentlemen from Germany that came in that are involved in several car clubs there that are American car clubs in Germany, and he was in here to look at the Mustang. Plus, you know, he had heard about us, and he said the people in Germany had told him about it. Matter of fact, I was at a show in Daytona, and there's a gentleman from Stuttgart that I'm talking to, and another gentleman from Luxembourg came up, and I'm talking to both of them, and all of a sudden they looked at each other, and they said they knew each other. They had done car shows in Europe, in Germany, together. I said, you know, where else would the two of you guys meet but at our booth at a huge car show in the States? So during season, we have a lot of European visitors, especially German visitors that come in, and they have a passion for cars too. Matter of fact, we've had a number of European cars in here as well. We've done, you know, Mercedes and BMWs and Triumphs, and we have two Alfa Romeos that are here right now. So it's not just American cars. You saw there's a Porsche there that we're doing, and another Porsche that's over there. So it's not just American cars, and that's part of the reason that we kind of segued our name from Classic Auto to Cars, because it really doesn't make any difference what kind of car it is. And we've had brand new Mercedes, we've had brand new Corvettes in here that we've done work to as well. Now, I might add to you, Nick, I didn't mention this earlier, but also I have staff that also does restoration work. So I forgot American Restoration in here as well. But we do gas pumps, we do signs, we do soda machines, we do air meters. Matter of fact, you probably saw when you walked in, they're working on a couple of them up there right now. About 6 gas pumps that they're working on right now, an air meter, all at the same time.
Yeah. Definitely a collector. And you said that was American Restoration?
Yeah, that's another TV show that's there. You know, on an average day here, we probably have more content than the majority of those shows have in a week. I tell people, and I love all of them, I watch all of them, but I tell them that, you know, the amount of activity that goes on here that mirrors all of those shows happens on a day-to-day basis here. And with the number of people we have, I mean, I love them all, but we do have some characters. So we live that day-to-day here. So it's kind of like reality TV comes to North Fort Myers in cars every day. And our customers are the same way. If we brought our customers in here, you'd see such an eclectic group. And when we have get-togethers, they come in and you'll see children, you'll see elderly people, you'll see muscle car people, you'll see exotic people, you'll see Corvette people. All of them have the same passion for cars.
Oh, great. And that's a perfect segue, because you have a barbecue that you host every year.
We do it actually once a month during season, from November through April. And part of that was because of a charity, and we first got introduced to it by a gentleman locally, and through an affiliation with Chip Foose, and it was called the Progeria Foundation. And after we did some research, we thought this is an extension of where our heart is and who we are. We also support a lot of local charities. The Veterans Foundation, we've done events for, and we support them. Matter of fact, we have one of our displays in their museum over in Cape Coral. But we also support the schools, the civic centers. We try to go to every show that we possibly can, churches, to support them through our passion for the cars. But with Progeria, during those open houses, we provide what we like to think the best lunch that you could have. We have chili and barbecue and hot dogs and potato chips and sodas and cookies and dessert, and we do it all for free. All we ask is a donation to Progeria, and 100% of everything that's donated, either there or at one of our car shows, goes to the Progeria Foundation. Now, we do other events that are just specific to the charity or the organization that are there. We just supported the Antique Automobile Club of America. They had a national event down in Naples. We were one of the supporters and also one of the vendors that were there. A wonderful group of people there too. So it's part of our outreach out into the community that shows the face of who we are and the heart of who we are.
You said you had a poster inside?
Yes.
Let's go check that out, and I can at least show everybody what the poster is and some of also the memorabilia you have that you've collected throughout the years.
Okay, let's go. Now, as we're walking up there, I'll just kind of give you a fill-in. When cars come in, like these cars are getting some maintenance here, and then this is a 1952. This is a rare car. Fraser Manhattan, that's one of 132 of them, and that's another story. Her father had these cars and he passed away, and they were from Michigan. They brought the car down here, and we're mechanically restoring the car so that they can enjoy the car and drive it. But they have a tremendous passion for this vehicle because it was owned by their father. So we get a lot of these here. I mean, it's not, you know, a body off concourse restoration, but I can tell you they have as much enjoyment and pride the day they'll turn the key to this car and drive it, and it'll bring back the memories of when they were kids riding in that car. Now out here, cars come in and they kind of get staged in this area here. So when they come in, the cars that are getting ready for restoration are stored in one of these bins here. And then as we get an opening in the shop, they're moved in.
You're even restoring our Airstream.
Yeah, matter of fact, while we're walking forward, I'll just show you our interior shop here too. We try to do as much as possible in-house here. We're doing a Bugatti kit car right now.
That's about 10 foot per wheel.
So we have that room there is where all the sewing equipment, everything is in there, and then all of our supplies in here. You'll see 2 or 3 jobs that are all in process here right now. And this job's almost done. We just did and again, this vehicle was owned by her father. So we're doing a minor restoration on it, but she got to ride in this vehicle when she was a kid, and her father gave it to her. So again, we try to do as much in-house as we possibly can. That way we can, maybe later on, we might be able to take a ride in the Camaro.
Well, there you go.
Matter of fact, that's a 74 Nova that came in. That gentleman bought that car new. He bought it brand new, and we were doing it. Right next to it is a Corvette. That was owned by his father. Unfortunately, they shipped it down from up north, and it fell off the trailer when they unloaded it. But the gentleman did not want to give the car up because it had such meaning to it. So it crushed the top. You know, if you pull the cover, you can see there's a lot of damage to it. But when we get done, that car will be just like it was the day that his father took it away from the dealership. And other things here, you know, we have other businesses too. You know, we have a staffing business, we have property management business, so we have a lot of stuff going on. But these are gas pumps that we restore, air meters that we restore. You can see pumps in the background that are ones that will be restored. Like I said, it's a busy day every day here.
No days off.
No days off. Now, over top of this Mustang, this is a covered up Mustang, but back in there you can see all the other signs and so forth. These are signs we haven't gotten to put up yet, but the walls are full of them on both sides. Plus there's a woodworking shop there. Matter of fact, over on the left-hand side, there's a complete set of Firestone neons that we just restored with the neon that we're trying to find a place that we can put them. We kind of ran out a little bit of room there. But that way, like I said, we try to control everything in-house that we possibly can.
And while I have you too, if you could just plug, and I'll do it on my Facebook page and Instagram, but if you'd like to plug your website and where they can find maybe more information for the timeshare program,
Sure.
some of the charity programs that you do, like Progeria and some of the others.
Yeah, the charity programs are the Progeria Foundation. Program that we support is Vest in America's Veterans Foundation out of Cape Coral, Florida. Our website is www.classicautoresto.com. Our Facebook page is Classic Auto Restoration Specialists, Inc. You can also find us on YouTube. I think I sent a few. I think we got 7 or 8 YouTube videos that are out there, also under Classic Auto Restoration Specialists.
Great. We're gonna go in right here. He's collected a lot of that pertains to just the old time of gas pumps, and thank you so much. And it's really, I can't even describe it because you have so much in here.
Yeah, there really wasn't a concise overall plan. It was, I didn't own one piece of it before 2005. I didn't have a sign, I didn't have a gas pump, I had a couple of model cars, some die-cast that over the years, and they were in boxes in my office. So originally we were going to make a 16,000 square foot museum. Tie it in with the shop, have cars in it. Unfortunately, with the local county ordinances, we could not get that passed. So what we decided to do is to make a mini museum that was here. So by then we had already brought truckloads of stuff. And I have to admit, I met some of the most interesting people, just wonderful people from all over the country. And what we would do is we would fly to the furthest point, rent a 26-foot Penske truck, go to the local Home Depot or Lowe's, build a second story inside of it, and then start on our trip. And we would, just like American Pickers, we would buy about half of the items prior to that, and the rest of the time we would just get referrals. And so we would drive through town, stop, pick up the items we had bought, talk to them about who they know, and many times we'd have 3 or 4 stops just in one location for one item that we had bought before. And then we'd come back, unload it, and then schedule the next trip. So that was a 2-year period of time that we bought 6 truckloads. Then what happened is we have an eBay business also. We had a lot of people that started bringing things in. We also have people that donate things to the museum. I got a whole box full of vintage emblems that came in from a gentleman. I don't even know where he found out about us. But we have people that show up here. That's why I say it's almost like Pawn Stars someday, that show up and say, hey, I found this in the closet. My grandfather's got it. And many times I don't know the people, but somebody who has been in here before. And then obviously we still buy things. And then just recently we started putting some things out that we're going to sell because we got a lot of overstock items from entire collections that we bought out. But you'll see a wide variety. What we kind of started with is anything that had to do with an automobile dealership, a classic car, or a classic car dealership. I mean, all these magazines are from the 50s and early 60s that are here. Most of the things here are either from the early 1900s up until around the 1970 time frame. And they represent anywhere from signs to, you'll see hat collections, gas pump collections, various oil cans, all kinds of NOS emblems that we have, and then just a lot of other things that were ancillary to that. There's some Coke items that we have. We've got a Coke machine over there, some Coke signs back there. But the goal is that when people come in here, it took them back to another place in time. And
takes you back in time. It was a time machine.
I mentioned this the other day. 2 things happen. Number one, when we take people on a tour, they come back to the shop. And obviously, you don't know what's back there. If you look at the front of our building, you'd never guess that there were 61,000 square feet here total. But they walk through, and when they turn the corner, they usually just stop. the sensory overload that they get. And then the same thing, it happens here. But what's interesting if they go back in the shop, many times they'll walk by a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, and they'll go to a 68 Camaro because that's what they relate to. Somebody in their family had one, a neighbor, a friend, or they took a ride in one. Same thing here. They'll walk in, and there are literally hundreds and hundreds of items in here, but they'll walk to the Coca-Cola sign, or they'll walk to the Sunoco sign, or they'll walk to the Mobil sign, or that Fire Chief Texaco gas pump, because that had some special meaning. For me, I worked in my father's Texaco station, so I've always been a kind of a Texaco collector. So it had more meaning, I think, than some of the other gas brands. But I've had people in here that own gas stations of virtually every brand that you can think from every place in the country. And that's what they're attracted to. We have Harley Davidson. There's a little loopster of Harley Davidson. I've got some Harley Davidson hats. So we also try to accommodate the bike community whenever possible. Matter of fact, that's one of the events that we support for the city of Cape Coral. They have a monthly bike night during season. And we're one of the large vendors that goes to that. And just, again, a wonderful group of people to associate with. And I think we get far more out of every show that we go to than we ever give back, because the stories that we hear about the cars or the bikes or the memorabilia that they related to, I mean, there's just dozens of them every show. And it feels good to hear that, because most of them are feel-good stories.
Well, you're doing some great things for the community. I also wanted to plug the project that you do with Foose. He also, I'm sure if you guys have watched some of his shows.
Absolutely.
But Chip Foose. But this is progeria.org, and it's a very sad disease that affects young children.
Yeah, if they go to progeriaresearch.org, and these are some of the kind letters that the Progeria Foundation has sent to us. And like I said, I mean, what we do is such a drop in the bucket to the joy that we get from seeing other people get involved. And that's the thing that happens with this, Nick. many people were not aware of the Progeria Research Foundation. And through the open houses, so many of our people have went to the website, became ongoing contributors and donors to it. So it's a lot of it's just the education that we provide when they come in. We try to give everybody a Progeria flyer, do a little bit of overview, answer a few questions, and it's certainly ancillary to our business. But they go out and they go back to Michigan, or they go back to Indiana, or back to California or Texas, wherever they're from, because we have a very international group here. And what happens is they then come back to us, or come back to Progeria Foundation, and they start going to the website or referring other people to the website.
And then just to wrap it up, I mean, this has been great, and I'm so fortunate, Mike, that you allowed me and my viewers to come in, especially I know it's, like you said, you're busy doing something every day. But it all started, your project, I can tell this is your baby. It's a big baby, but it is your baby, and it all started with a 68 Camaro. Mm-hmm. And just to give my viewers just a little bit of what was going on, you said it was your very first car.
Well, yes, kind of. I had a 1961 Corvair, mm-hmm. and we grew up in a little town, 300 people in Verona, Ohio. My father had the only gas station. Right across the railroad track was the only grocery store, a little IGA station. And I remember the first day that the 68 Camaro came in. It had actually been bought at the dealership where my girlfriend's father worked at the time. And it was bought by the older brother of a classmate of mine. And they drove the car directly from the dealership, Booth Chevrolet in Brookville, Ohio, to our little Texaco gas station. And I remember when the car pulled in, I was working that day. So I got to put the first tank of gas in it from the dealer. And I remember just, I think I had to clean the car off twice because I was just drooling on the car. And he had opened the hood and showed me and the trunk and, look inside of it. Well, what happened was that car shortly after had gotten purchased by the IGA owner's son. And believe it or not, the car sat right across the tracks from our gas station. So every day that I came in, I looked at that car. And I was working for my father, and bless his soul, for 50 cents an hour. I know it was child labor laws probably were not met at that time. But the experience has been tremendous and meaningful for me. But what happened is I had saved up $1,300 because my goal was to buy a 1968 Camaro Z28. I couldn't find one that I could afford. I looked and looked. I just didn't have enough money at 50 cents an hour, and I wasn't making it fast enough. Finally, my father came home one night and said, that Mr. Schneider is going to sell his Camaro Z28. And he's in Ohio now. How ironic was the reason he's selling it, he was moving to Florida.
Full circle.
And so I told my father, I said, there's no way. I said, how much does he want for it? He says he wants $1,950. I said, Dad, I got $1,300. My father, being the shrewd businessman he was, he says, I might be able to advance you a loan against your wages. So he loaned me $650, and that's how I acquired the car. I have hauled that car all over the country. I did 2 complete restorations on it before the original restoration that we just did. So I understand how meaningful these vehicles are to people and their family. Because when I think about that car, I think about my father, I think about the hometown that I came from, I think about times that make me feel good in my memories. So when somebody comes in that says their father owned this car, or they owned it when they were a child, or it was somewhere in the family, or this car reminds them of a car that somebody they knew or their family has, I know the feeling that they have. And so that's what really spawned the whole business. Because when I took my car that had a lot of meaning to me to 2 other shops, they didn't really care. It's not like they had any feeling or passion for it. And the quality of work and the way I was treated certainly wasn't indicative of what I think that car was worth. And so what happened is that was my motivation. But again, little did I know that that 68 Camaro was going to end up into all of this.
Well, let's go look at that Camaro. I think I might have giving everybody a little sneak peek of it. But it's one of the gorgeous green Camaros that we saw earlier.
Yeah, a few years ago I had the opportunity too. This is back in, I think this was I was out in California, and a 1969 Camaro was out there at an auction. And I wasn't the successful bidder that day. They had people like Reggie Jackson, one of the Oakland Raiders, Boyd Coddington. They were people that were way out of my league to be able to purchase the car. Well, what happened is the car was purchased by someone who couldn't pay for it. And it sat in storage, and they had contacted me, and I ended up buying the car almost a year later. Because the auction obviously had ended and they were stuck with cars. One of the people I mentioned had actually bought 26 cars and defaulted on the payment. So I got a chance to get that car, and it just happened to be rally green, the exact same color as the 68. So now I actually have a 67 Camaro, not rally green, but it's a very special car, that one of them that you saw that was on the rotisserie. But yeah, why don't we take a ride?
Definitely. Thank you so much. Well, you guys, but I wanted to, wanted to thank Mike. He's doing great things here at C.A.R.S. and actually giving me an opportunity to ride with him. And I'll let him start it just so you guys can hear it, but let him start the Z28. I also convinced Mike to give me a ride, so let's go for a spin. And this is it, guys. I want to thank you for watching. Thank you very much for my viewers. I want to also thank Mike right here. As we go, taking a ride in the Z28. Woo! Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Nick.
It's been so much fun. I will plug everything that you need to know in case you miss some of the very cool things that he does here at C.A.R.S. Some of the information, his website, also his Facebook. But again, thank you so much for watching Nicksaway. Remember to sharing is caring, share it. And also there's that top notification bar that you can click on. It'll let you know every time I go live. So again, I want to thank Mike.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you so much. And thank you, C.A.R.S. And thank you, this Camaro Z28.